President Cyril Ramaphosa is spending Mandela Day in the birthplace of the father of the nation. He will unveil two statues of the founding presidents in Qunu and Mthatha. Let's get the latest from eNCA senior reporter Siphamandla Goge, who's standing by to give us, of course, this update in terms of how the festivities are going around there. And earlier on, colleague, you spoke to Ndileka Mandela, the granddaughter of Utatu Nelson Mandela, emphasizing that beyond today being his birthday, it's a day, of course, to further encourage South Africans and the rest of the world to do good. So how's the program looking like today?
Well, it's about to officially get underway. We expect the arrival of President Cyril Ramaphosa, whom, amongst other things, will be opening the statue or unveiling the statue of the global icon. Bongamkize will show you that covered statue. For now, it's one of two statues that will be unveiled in the Eastern Cape today. This is located in Mthatha, just outside the Nelson Mandela Museum in Mthatha. Another one will be in Qunu, the birthplace of Nelson Mandela. So that's what will be happening today, to salute the global icon, to remember and commemorate him, as today marks his birthday, which was declared the global Nelson Mandela Day by the United Nations. It's a very important and significant day, not only in South Africa, but across the globe, whereby people remember Nelson Mandela. This is what is happening outside the Mthatha Nelson Mandela Museum, and this is where President Ramaphosa will arrive. And after arrival, he will then officially open the statue or unveil the statue. After unveiling the statue, he will then proceed to Qunu. That's where we expect him to make some sort of remarks and deliver some sort of remarks to commemorate this important day, to talk about the significance of the Nelson Mandela Day. What does it mean for the people of South Africa and for the people of the world? I'm not sure if we'll be able to find some of the people who have arrived here, but I see one of the deputy ministers, I think Nkosi Olomisa, arriving. He will pass shortly here. Other ministers are already inside there to remember Omadiba, and we'll just see if we can be able to get a word with Nkosi Olomisa, who's arriving here, as he will be one of those who will be honoring the global icon Nelson Mandela. Minister Mondi Kungubele is already inside, Minister Zizibotwa is already inside, and others are already. Siyakhuleka Nkosi ninjani kodwa? Siyakhuleka, Siphamandla Goge from eNCA. We are live here. It's a very important day, the Nelson Mandela Day. Let's get your reflections on this important day, Nkosi.
Well, actually, every day should be Mandela Day, because the leader of the liberation movement that helped us achieve freedom from apartheid and colonialism was a man who, on a daily and hourly and every minute basis, was striving for the betterment of the lives of the people of South Africa, to remove the legacy of apartheid and colonialism. And even though he didn't manage to remove every part of the shackles that bound our people in terms of economic liberation especially, he did lay down the foundation and the systems that should be used by future governments in order to ensure that you achieve the original aim of the African National Congress, which was the liberation of the people, the restoration of the land, and the economic emancipation of all the people of South Africa, including the ability to be able to elect their own leaders democratically and freely, and also to ensure that everyone has the right to participate in the political, social, and economic and cultural life of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. They're reflecting on the Nelson Mandela Day. I see here the minister, that is Minister Noxolo Kivit, the former Premier. Molo former Nkulumbuso Kunjani.
I'm fine.
Nelson Mandela Day, very important. You are the former Premier of this province, one of the poorest provinces. How do we remember Madiba by eradicating poverty, inequality, and unemployment?
And and that's the work that we do every day, to work on the ground, to ensure that we heal the divisions of the past, because poverty in this province is not looked from the angle that it is as a result of the injustices of the past. And Madiba died fighting for justice. So for us, even poverty is that injustice that we dedicate our lives, dedicate ourselves, ensuring that we work to eradicate poverty completely. It's not an easy one. It's no one-step solution. It is a lot of efforts to work with communities, especially in this part of our province, to ensure that we together make it.
Madiba made sure and prioritized the issue of women empowerment. He believed in women leadership, and they used to say there can be no proper freedom and emancipation without the emancipation of women to lead and occupy key strategic positions. How do we take that forward?
We ensure that each and every program of government, you would know that the President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that we need to set aside a quota for government procurement, 40% for women, so that we ensure that they first are mainstreamed in the economy, but also to ensure that, because we know women are game changers, especially within families, within communities, and within society. And therefore, empowerment of women is the empowerment of the nation. You would know that better than I do. And that's why we drive these programs that seek to ensure that women are at the forefront of development.
Thank you very much. Former Premier of the Eastern Cape, that is Nokolo Kivit, who's now the National Minister responsible for public service and administration. You will see on my right here, members of the media and other guests have been asked to take their positions simply because we expect the arrival of President Ramaphosa any minute from now. There will be some movement as his motorcade is set to make its way to the Nelson Mandela Museum in Mthatha to officially begin with a program to commemorate the life and times of Nelson Mandela, the global icon who played a very important role in ensuring the freedom of this country together with other freedom fighters and also ushering in the democratic dispensation. However, a number of socio-economic challenges remain, and that will require a concerted effort to deal with those socio-economic challenges, including eradicating poverty, inequality, unemployment, crime, and other issues. So with that, as we await the arrival of the president, we'll continue to monitor the proceedings here. After this, we will head to Qunu. That's where we expect President Ramaphosa to make his remarks in commemorating these days, or rather this day.
Siphamandla, I mean, for a moment, I just want us to perhaps speak about the significance of having statues in the country, and particularly when we look at Nelson Mandela. I mean, we could look at not only South Africa, colleague, but around the world. This is a way, for, I suppose, global citizens to take one, I suppose, a photo op with the statue. Suppose that's the closest they can get, or they could get to feeling the presence of Utatu Nelson Mandela, but also just remembering his contribution in the country and how much of an influence that had in global politics. For a moment, I suppose, let's discuss the significance of some of the statues that we've also seen, the Nelson Mandela Square in Sandton being one popular spot where locals or even tourists can catch a Mandela statue.
While I answer that question, Bongam Kize is showing you the motorcade of the president passing by. He will be making his entrance at the back of this Nelson Mandela Museum. He has arrived. I can confirm to you and our viewers that his motorcade is dropping him off, and he will come and unveil this statue. The significance of statues is to preserve history and ensure that future generations are taught about history and what transpired. yes, there will always be a debate that is raging or that is ongoing about, instead of spending millions in statues, why not develop this area, which is one of the poorest areas in the country? That debate will continue. It's fine. That is part of freedom of speech. It's expected. People have different views. But at the same time, what do you do with your historical past? Do you not build and erect statues because you have other pressing socio-economic challenges? What are the priorities? Which one comes first? That is the debate that South Africans need to take. But at the same time, these statues will ensure that you are able to tell the South African story of liberation. And telling the South African story is not only about oral history, but you need other forms and features in a form of statues and other monuments to demonstrate what happened. For instance, other people have been saying there are too many statues of Madiba, not only in South Africa but globally. And others are saying, what do you expect from a global icon who was shaped by circumstances to be a leading player in global politics and social justice? So all of those points need to be taken into account and context to say, for me, is the question of how do you undertake this difficult balancing act? Continue to honor your heroes and heroines, all of them, not just one, but at the same time continue again. Prof Somadoda Figeni, Unjani Prof. Prof Somadoda Figeni, how are you? Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry to hijack you. I'm waiting for the arrival of the president. My colleague Tumelo Mochutwane would like to know, we are here to open or unveil 2 statues of Madiba. She wants to know the significance of these statues in terms of preserving culture and history. But how do you balance between your pressing socio-economic challenges and also preserving your history?
Well, it is only when you do not isolate a statue, erect a statue and leave. Only when you use it for tourism and integrate it into your local economic development programs, then it starts being meaningful. When you see a statue of liberty, or you see the statue in Rio de Janeiro and other statues, or the Taj Mahal, those places are integrated into the local economy. That's why national, provincial and local government should come together to say, how do we use Madiba as a magnet for economic activities, include the youth and everything else. Look at the Steve Biko Center in Ginsberg. It changed the outlook of the area. It became a hub of economic activities, of community activities. Only then these statues will have a bigger meaning than just the brick and mortar or bronze.
What does Mandela Day mean to you as a South African?
It has so much significance in terms of what each one of us can do. When he said, I've done my part, it is in your hand, we can no longer suffer in a space of victimhood all the time. Must have a sense of agency, a sense of self-reliance, and a sense of going and getting the opportunities. Of course, government must play its part in facilitating that. But we cannot always be dependent on government alone. In our community, when you have your own garden, do something. And that would be in the spirit of Madiba, but also the spirit of living based on principles and values of something bigger than yourself.
You can't talk about Madiba and divorce him from the ANC, his political home. And currently in the country, critics are saying there appears to be a lack of servant leadership, selfless leaders who prioritize the people. What needs to be done to ensure that those values of servant leadership are restored?
Well, to me, I think looking at the whole ecosystem of how leaders are selected, because leadership is groomed right from birth, from the family, from the community. Now that's the clear distinction between the professional politicians of today, who makes that a full-time job, from those who were born organically embedded within the communities. So we should retrace that. The Lutulis, the Mandelas and others were embedded within their communities, and that's what we ought to work towards for the entire political class across political parties.
Thank you very much for time, Prof. Professor Somadoda Figeni, a well-known commentator on political matters and matters of social justice. I'm trying to keep an eye on this direction and this side because that's where President Ramaphosa will be coming from, making his way all the way down to the official unveiling of the statue. I see members of the Presidential Protection Service are already taking their positions, meaning any moment from now, the president will make his way out of these stairs and then go straight to where there is that navy or bluish cover that's covering the statue. In the meantime, Bongamkhize will just keep on monitoring those visuals. But that's the situation here in Mthatha. After this, we are moving to Qunu, where President Ramaphosa will be addressing the Nelson Mandela Day commemoration event.